Spelled traitor, not traitor, by Jack of all trades. Chapter 2. Day 1. It had taken months, but it was finally done. The last paper had been signed, the apartment had been vacated, and Midoriya Izuku had officially dropped off the grid. Instead, Midoriya Izuku lived in a flat above the quaint shop he had opened in the city center. An outsider might look at his policies and scoff that he would never stay in business. His counseling services were offered at rock-bottom prices, and for those in the know, the quirk for a quirk trading policy was unsustainable. Further, he could not be more than 16 years old, too young to be a qualified counselor. Under the surface was a different story. The assets that Izuku had seized from All for One were more than enough to fund a much more opulent lifestyle, enough to offer his services at what others would see as a catastrophic loss. There were some legitimate concerns about his qualifications, but part of Sensei's training had been learning about quirks, their applications, and how they affected their users to prepare him for taking and using them himself. The rest of his ability came from his own overactive sense of empathy. Sensei had thought he had been subtle with his hints at the quirk he was planning to bestow upon Izuku, but he had not counted on Tomura. Shigaraki was a colander when it came to vital information. Secrets leaked out of his mouth as he spoke. When the man-child had bragged about Sensei's quirk to his young compatriot, Izuku had thrown himself into the facade to please them. And now it was all done. Izuku had All for One with a slew of other quirks and his own shop, and the Villains Alliance had nothing. The sign had been made possible by one of the quirks Izuku had, an obfuscation quirk that wiped the words on the sign about the quirk trading aspect of his business from perception, unless one knew what to look for, and the young man was very careful in his release of that information. Sensei's network of informants and contacts made finding those who would benefit from his services a breeze. In fact, Izuku was anticipating his first customer already. School was about to begin again. If Izuku had begun going to high school instead of being privately tutored by Sensei, he would be in second year like his peers, and like the client he was expecting. The door chimed a cheery boom, boom, as it opened, and a lanky teenager with a shock of light purple hair, severe eye bags, slumped through the door. "Hello," Izuku chirped, a brilliant smile on his face. "Welcome to Midoriya's Quirk Counseling. How can I help you today?"
Hey, I set up an appointment yesterday. It was recommended I get some counseling for my career.
The teen scratched at the back of his neck listlessly.
Yours was the only business in my price range.
Excellent! I am glad you've chosen me to help your future. If you'll follow me into the office.
Wait, you're the counselor? I expected someone taller.
Izuku smiled sheepishly. I assure you I may be young, but I am completely qualified to aid you in your troubles. The new customer sighed and shrugged.
Guess I don't really have a choice.
Great! The two filed into a room off of the main shop front, decorated with a couch and several beanbags and chairs strewn about the floor. The walls were adorned with paintings, as though the room was located in a green jungle clearing, and shelves held plush toys of jungle animals to aid in this theme. Go ahead and sit where you want, Izuku motioned to the seats. And go ahead and introduce yourself so that we can get started.
Alright, I'm Hitoshi Shinso.
Shinso introduced himself as he grabbed a leopard doll and fell into a beanbag. Hello, Hitoshi. I am Midori, as you may have guessed. What seems to be your problem? Sinking further into the bag and clutching the cat toy to his chest, Shinso leaned his head back to stare at the ceiling.
I want to be a hero. It's all I want to do, but my quirk just isn't suited for the heavy combat trials that hero courses favor. I'm in the general department at UA, but I don't have high hopes for transferring into the heroics program. Everyone says I should pick a different career.
Under his breath, Shinzo added to himself,
when they're not saying I should be a villain anyway.
Oh, and what is your quirk?
I'd rather not say. People say it's more suited for villainy and clam up whenever they figure it out.
Shinzo fidgeted in his sack of full pellets. I am sure I could take it. People would think the same about me if they found out about my quirk.
Well, now I'm curious.
How about a trade? You told me about your quirk, and I'll tell you about mine.
Sounds fair.
Shinzo sighed and crossed his arms.
I can brainwash people. If they respond verbally to me, I can control them.
My, that's a powerful quirk. I can see how it would be a problem with heroics programs, though.
Yeah. So?
Well, have you trained yourself so that you can fight villains without your quirk?
No. Figured it wasn't much of a point if I'm not in training to be a hero. And that's not what I meant earlier. What's your quirk?
I'll get to that, but this meeting is about you. Has it occurred to you that physical fitness is a large part of the prerequisites for hero work? I bet if you got stronger, faster, and learned some weapons or martial arts, you would qualify for a heroics department easier. With a quirk like yours, it would be child's play to stop crime, but you need a contingency in case if that fails.
I guess.
Shinso conceded, groaning and spreading himself over the beanbag chair like a human starfish.
Exercising is a pain, though.
Izuku chuckled. Maybe so, but it is important. A healthy body makes for a healthy mind, after all. I bet if you got stronger, some pro-hero teachers might even take an interest in you and help you along.
I don't think UA works that way.
Well, you'd know better than I would. Has this session helped you with what you were struggling with?
I guess. Just confirmed what I didn't want to think about.
Sometimes that's all someone needs. Izuku got up from the chair he had sat in and motioned for Shinso to do the same. I'm glad I was able to help you, Hitoshi.
Well, that was short.
Izuku shrugged as Shinso extracted himself from the beanbag. There's not much I can tell you. It seems like you've mostly figured out on your own. You just needed someone else to tell you what you needed to hear.
At least it's cheap.
Shinso grumbled, pulling out his wallet and handing Izuku the pittance that he asked for in exchange for his services and the leopard blush. Holding a hand out for a handshake, Izuku scratched his cheek and smiled. I do feel kind of bad about not being able to help you more, Hitoshi. But I'm sure that training isn't as hard as you think it will be. I bet if you apply yourself, you'll find yourself in UA's heroics department before the year is out.
Well, at least you're optimistic.
Shinso grimaced as he took Izuku's hand. He felt a rush of warmth from the other boy's soft skin that flowed up his own arm and across his chest.
He snatched his hand from Izuku's. What was that?
Oh, that was just my quirk. I promised I'd tell you, right? I called it Give and Take. That was the name that Izuku had given all for one on official forms. I can reach into someone and pull out a vital piece of themselves and keep it for my own or gift it to someone else.
Jeez. Yeah, that sounds pretty villainous. So whose vital piece did I get and what was it? I'm not going to be hunted down to get it back, am I?
Shinso demanded only half-jokingly. Oh, it was just a little piece of myself. My own enthusiasm for exercise. Izuku giggled. I don't really make enough from this job to afford luxuries and I live upstairs. A frugal lifestyle and plenty of cardio all day, every day. I don't think I'll be needing that particular part of me much anymore. I think you might find that training yourself will come easier than ever.
Wow. Thanks.
It was my pleasure. Just make sure not to tell anyone else, please. I wouldn't want to get arrested for vigilantism.
I think you'd just get fined for illegal use of your quirk.
Oh, I don't know. I like to think of myself as a hero to all of my clients, and I'm about as far from hero certified as I can get.
Right. Thanks for that, then. I'll just get going.
Shinso waved farewell as he walked out the door. Have a wonderful day, Izuku called after Shinso while taking his seat behind the counter facing the entrance. Once Izuku was alone, he reached under the counter he sat at and pulled out the thick binder. He had flipped through pages and pages that detailed quirks and their uses and stopped at the one he had been looking for. Training regimen, it was called. The page noted that it was a quirk that exponentially heightened the muscle gains made from training the body. Izuku was pretty sure he had what the kids nowadays called thick thighs, from this quirk strengthening his leg as he walked to and from places and up and down the stairs to his flat. Izuku extracted training regimen's information page from the binder and slotted it into a folder in a filing cabinet built into the counter. The first quirk he had given away to help someone else achieve their dreams. He would have to keep an eye on Hitoshi Shinso in the future. The first customer always holds a special place in a businessman's heart, after all. There was a creak from behind him. The door to the stairwell leading to the living space upstairs had opened. Izuku swiveled in his seat to see his mother Inko peeking out from behind the door. You've seen your first customer already? Inko asked her son, sidling out into the shop. Izuku held up the thin stack of yen notes and shot a brilliant smile at his mother in response. "Oh!" Inko began, tearing up, and rushed to embrace her son. "My little boy already making his way in the world!" the pleasantly plump woman wailed, overcome with emotions. "I'm so proud of you, Izuku!" Mom, it's okay. And remember, I'm Zuko down here, right, Tenko?" Right. Tenko, Inko sniffled. "It's just so much has happened. I know you handle everything, but it's still my name on the papers, and it's also overwhelming." That was a workaround that Izuku was not very proud of. As a minor, he had been required to have his mother sign as the official owner of the property and business, meaning she would take the fall if he ever messed up. Izuku was determined to rectify the situation as soon as he was of age. The door chimed again, which struck Izuku with a discordant note, as he was not expecting anyone else to come in for at least another hour. He turned his head to take in the entrance as Inko tensed her arms around him. A trio of thuggish men had filed into the shop front. 2 hefted metal bats, and the third at the head of the group had the head, tail, and scales of a lizard. "Mom?" Izuku murmured. "Go back upstairs, I'll handle this." "Be careful." Inko placed a kiss onto her son's forehead as she felt herself being cloaked by Izuku's obfuscation quirk. It had been a big enough shock when she had learned about her son's sensei's quirk and villainous background, that it and many others had been passed on to her own son without her knowledge and consent had struck her dumb when Izuku had explained it to her, along with why they had to go into hiding. Izuku placed his hands folded onto the countertop as he felt Inko slip back and shut the door behind her. He used his knee to subtly press the button on the underside of the counter that set off a silent alarm to the local police and hero forces. "Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to Midoriya's multitudinous Quirk Emporium counseling service. How can I help you today?"
"Yeah, you can help us."
The lizard man, the apparent leader of this pack of ruffians, stepped up to the counter.
"You can give us all yous cash."
"Sure." Izuku shrugged and placed the pitiful handful of money onto the countertop.
The lizard man looked at the money, shifted his view to Izuku's deadpan face, and back down to the pittance on the counter.
"Bullshit!" The man slammed his fist onto the countertop, cracking it and sending the money fluttering away.
"This is a counselor's thing. Yous assholes always makes bank."
"I'm sorry, but today is our first day open. I've only seen one client so far, and that was their fee. I apologize for the inconvenience."
Izuku bowed deferentially in his chair. "No, yous don't get off this easily," the lizard man roared. One of his other thugs turned and locked the door behind him. "We's gonna take a haul from yous, even if it's gotta be in property damages."
"I likes this glass room yous got, sis," one of the bat-wielding maniacs commented, strolling over to the mentioned glass wall. "Would be a shame if something's woulda happens to this." He took a long wind-up before swinging his bat with all of his might at the glass. The almost comical that resulted shook the man to his bones, the bat rebounding off of the glass and carrying him into a spin. The glass was none the worse for wear. That's special anti-shatter reinforced glass. I wouldn't try that again if I were you. Also, if I were you, I'd also walk right back out that door. If you continue, I will be obligated to defend myself and my property." Izuku said, sighing as he stood from his chair. He was immediately hefted onto the counter when the lizard man grabbed him by the collar and dragged him face to face.
"Oh, yes? And what yous gonna do about it?"
"Well, to start with," Izuku began, reaching his hand for the lizard man's arm, but he was interrupted by an enthusiastic voice from right behind him.
"He won't have to do anything. Why? Because I am here!" the boisterous voice shouted.
Izuku was surprised when his vision was eclipsed by an arm that seemed to have sprouted from his face that
Sacked the lizard man, holding him up hard enough to make him let go of his erstwhile victim and be sent flying across the room.
Without the villain's hand to hold him up, Izuku fell backwards into someone's chest. They wrapped an arm under his armpits to keep him from falling further. Izuku noted that the arm they held extended, where their head used to be, had slid right through his head as though it wasn't there. Looking up, Izuku was met with the reflective blue visor with cheek guards below, a cowlick of bright blonde hair, a red cape fastened to clasps at the shoulders, and a large number 1,000,000 across his chest.
"Fear not, citizen!"
the hero assured Izuku as he set him down on the ground.
Lemillion will take care of these thugs.
Lemillion, in a show of intimidation, proceeded to stride through the counter as though it had not been a solid object. Or, Izuku thought to himself, as though he had not been solid. Of all the heroes that come to my aid, it had to be the one with the greatest claim to be my rival out of anyone else in the city. True to his word, Lemillion made short work of the villains. Their bats passed through him harmlessly, and he dispatched them with light taps that nonetheless sent them crashing into walls. Even when the lizard man picked himself back up and launched himself at the hero, he flew through him and face first into the glass wall, knocking himself unconscious and leaving a grease print in the shape of his snout on the glass. With all three robbers unconscious, Lemillion grabbed a coil of oddly golden rope from his waist and tied them all together before standing back and clapping his hands together to signal a job well done. He then walked to the front door, unlatched it, and motioned the policemen that had stationed themselves outside to take the prisoners. Business taken care of, he turned back to Izuku.
Well, I hope you aren't hurt, young man.
Oh, no, I am fine. Thank you for coming to my aid. Izuku bowed to the newest vessel of One for All.
Lemillion chuckled good-naturedly and ruffled Izuku's hair. That was my pleasure. I would never forgive myself if such a promising youth had come to harm under my watch.
I would have been okay. They just wanted money, and since it's opening day for my business, they were mad there wasn't much.
Nevertheless, I am glad I was able to help. I hope your business succeeds past your wildest dreams.
And then, with a flick of his cape, Lemillion walked through the store's front wall to continue his duties as a hero. The villains were promptly bundled into police cars and driven away. Statements were given, things were wrapped up, and Izuku had enough time to prepare for his next client.
Izuku sunk his head into his hands and heaved a great sigh.
Well, he spoke to the empty shop. That was about the best first encounter with One for All I could have hoped for. Things can only go downhill from here. Silence thickened in the shop before it was broken by the tinkling of the door's chime once more. Izuku sat himself up straight and composed himself quickly as his next client entered the shop. Izuku just had to put the encounter out of his mind. After all, Lemillion had no reason to come after him. He was but a simple quirk counselor with a suspicious quirk, after all. He had a business to run, and he couldn't let his worries about being found out hinder his work. He couldn't be a hero. He didn't want to be a villain. But he could still help people to save them from themselves. And saving people is all he'd ever wanted to do in the first place.